The sound of thunder rolls over the Scottish hills. The wind whispers through the ancient stones, carrying secrets long buried in time. A single question echoes through the silence. What makes a family? Is it the blood that runs in our veins, or the love that binds our hearts? In the world of the Frasers, the answer is never simple. And now, in Outlander, Blood of My Blood Season 2. The battle between heritage and heart begins with one choice, the adoption that could change everything. The story opens where it all began, in the misty Highlands, where memories live longer than men. The Frasers have carried their name with pride through fire, war, and heartbreak. Their blood has written history, their choices carved into time. But even the strongest legacy can tremble when the past refuses to stay silent. In the quiet halls of Lallybroch, whispers of a child begin to stir. Not born of Fraser blood, but bound by something deeper, compassion, love, and a promise made in the dark. Jamie's eyes, aged but fierce, carry the weight of old oaths. Claire's heart beats with the same defiance that once challenged time itself. They've lost children, gained them, and seen generations rise and fall. But now a new chapter threatens the very meaning of the name they've fought to protect. The story of a child, not of their flesh, but of their fate, has begun to weave into their family's tapestry. The world outside their walls grows restless. The echoes of rebellion still hang in the air, the cost of loyalty never forgotten. The Frasers have always been defined by their blood, warriors, lovers, rebels, but this new test is not one of swords and honor. It's one of heart and truth. Can love alone make someone a Fraser? Or will the ghosts of their lineage demand a price too heavy to bear? Every corner of Lallybroch seems to breathe with history. The stones remember every cry, every vow, every heartbreak. As the sun sets over the moors, the child stands in the doorway, small, uncertain, and yet, in that fragile frame, lies the storm to come. The air grows thick with unspoken questions. Whose child is he? Why now? And what secret could be so powerful that it might tear the Fraser legacy apart? This is no ordinary story. It's not just about love or loss, but about what it means to belong. For in the land where time bends and hearts break, one truth remains: family is not always given, sometimes it's chosen. And that choice will demand everything they have left to give. Night falls heavy over Lallybroch, and with it comes the weight of silence. The house breathes with a kind of unease, the kind that lives between words never spoken. The fire crackles in the great hall, but its warmth cannot reach the coldness growing in the corners of the Fraser home. Claire stands by the window, her reflection a ghost against the glass. She has seen time twist reality before, yet this question of family and belonging feels heavier than any wound or war. She knows love can build miracles, but it can also shatter what blood once bound. Jamie moves like a man haunted. His heart has always been his greatest strength, and now it is his greatest weakness. The boy's presence stirs something deep inside him, memories of lost children, echoes of faces gone too soon. Each time he looks at the child, he sees shadows of what could have been. But love is not born from likeness. It grows from choice, from the moments we decide to keep fighting even when the world calls us fools. Yet Jamie cannot escape the whispers, those from the villagers who wonder whose child he has taken under his roof. And those from his own heart that question whether he can call the boy his son without betraying the blood of his ancestors outside. The rain falls in endless threads, washing over the earth like tears. The boy, small and quiet, explores the edges of the old stone walls, tracing the cracks with his fingers as though trying to read the history hidden there. He doesn't speak much, but his eyes, dark and searching, tell stories of loneliness too old for his years. Claire watches him and feels a pull she cannot explain, a bond that does not care for logic or lineage. She knows that love, true love, doesn't ask for proof, but still, the world beyond these walls will. And when that world starts to ask questions, hearts will break long before answers come. Rumors begin to seep through the village like smoke. They whisper of betrayal, of stolen children, of debts unpaid. Old loyalties tremble, and new enemies find reasons to strike. To adopt a child is not a quiet act in a land ruled by names and legacies. Every family is judged by its blood, and the Frasers, already a story told in both glory and pain, now stand on the edge of another storm. Claire knows what is coming: the weight of judgment, the cruel simplicity of those who see love as weakness. Yet she refuses to yield. Her love for the child grows fierce, untamed like the wild Highland winds. But even love must face truth. In the shadows of the cellar, old letters are found, letters sealed with a crest no one dares speak of. The child's past begins to unfold, thread by painful thread, revealing connections to enemies thought long gone. The truth, when it arrives, cuts deeper than any blade. The boy's blood may carry the mark of those who once tried to destroy everything the Frasers built. And now Jamie must choose: turn the child away and preserve the name that history carved in fire, or keep him close and risk everything for the sake of the family his heart believes in. The air in Lallybroch grows heavy, thick with fear and love entwined. Every glance between Jamie and Claire carries 1,000 unspoken words. Every heartbeat echoes with the question that will define them: is family made of blood, or the courage to love beyond it? The storm outside rages louder, thunder rolling through the hills as if the land itself demands an answer. The boy looks up at Jamie with eyes full of hope and fear, and for a fleeting second, Jamie sees himself lost, searching, human. And just like that, the world tilts. The line between right and wrong begins to fade. The Frasers, who have survived time and war, now face their most human battle yet, the one fought not on fields of honor, but within the fragile walls of the heart. Days turn into weeks, and the whispers in Lallybroch grow into storms. The walls, once filled with laughter and song, now echo with silence. Every corner holds a story no one dares to speak. The boy, fragile, curious, and too wise for his age, has found a place between belonging and exile. He helps with chores, listens when the others talk, and moves softly, as though afraid to disturb the ghosts that walk these halls. Yet, for all his gentleness, his presence carries a truth that cannot stay hidden forever. Jamie feels the shift first. The air itself seems heavier when the child walks into the room. It's not dislike, never that. It's fear. Fear of what this child represents, of what he might bring. The old letters Claire found haunt Jamie's mind. Each night he sits by the fire, staring at the flames, as though searching for answers in the ashes. The boy's bloodline ties him to an enemy whose name still stings the very family that once sought to erase the Frasers from history. How can he protect a child born of that name? And yet, how can he turn away from one who looks at him with such innocent trust? Claire senses his conflict before he speaks it. She has seen men fight wars with swords, but this war, the one between duty and love, is far crueler. She tells him quietly that blood is not destiny, that every soul deserves a chance to choose who they become. But Jamie, burdened by the weight of his lineage, cannot see beyond the ghosts of his past. To him, blood is history, and history has always demanded payment. He wonders if loving this child might be the final betrayal of all those who came before him. Outside, the land mirrors their turmoil. Storms batter the fields, the river swells, and the skies rarely clear. Nature itself seems to grieve, as if it too feels the strain of secrets buried too deep. In the village, tongues wag faster than truth can travel. They say the Frasers have taken in the blood of their enemies. They say curses follow children of war. Old friends begin to keep their distance, and loyal workers question their oaths. The adoption that once felt like an act of grace now stands as a test of everything Jamie and Claire have ever believed in. The boy, sensing the unease, withdraws into himself. He spends hours by the riverbank, tossing pebbles into the current, watching them disappear beneath the ripples. Claire finds him there one evening, quiet and still. When she sits beside him, he asks her the question she's feared most: "Do you wish I wasn't here?" The simplicity of it cuts deeper than any accusation. She cannot answer at first. Instead, she takes his hand, small and trembling, and tells him what her heart knows to be true: that love, once given, cannot be undone. It doesn't erase the past, but it can heal what the past has broken. Back inside, Jamie stands before the family's old portraits. Generations of Frasers stare down at him, their painted eyes filled with the weight of tradition. He feels judged by their silence. He remembers his father's words that a man's worth is measured not by his blood, but by his choices. For the first time in weeks, Jamie feels a flicker of clarity. Perhaps the boy was sent not to test him, but to remind him what it truly means to carry the Fraser name. Not a matter of lineage, but of loyalty, courage, and love. As night descends again, the sound of hooves breaks the stillness. Riders approach from the village, men bearing news that cannot wait. Their faces are grim, their words colder still. The child's identity has been revealed. His true father, once thought dead, is alive and coming for him. The truth bursts like thunder through the house, shaking the fragile peace that held it together. Jamie and Claire exchange a glance that holds both fear and resolve. What comes next will test not just their hearts, but their very legacy. The boy, unaware of what awaits, stands by the fire's glow, clutching a small wooden horse Jamie carved for him. The flames dance across his face, half in light, half in shadow like his fate. Outside, the wind howls through the night, carrying a promise and a warning. Blood may call to blood, but love will decide who answers. Dawn comes gray and thin, like a blade pressed to the horizon. The house wakes early, not with the easy rhythm of chores, but with the sharp breath of fear. Word has spread that a man rides fast toward Lallybroch, a man with the boy's face in older lines, a man whose name once darkened every Fraser prayer. The yard fills with quiet steps and careful eyes. No one speaks of it, yet every hand shakes a little. The boy stands by the kitchen arch, the little wooden horse tucked close to his chest, as if it can protect him from the hours ahead. Jamie walks past him and pauses, not to give orders or comfort, but to be seen, to say without words, "I am here." Claire busies her hands so she does not show her fear, setting bread on the table, heating water, tying her hair back, as if order can hold chaos at the door. But the door does not listen. It never does on mornings like this. The riders arrive when the sun is barely a thought behind the clouds. Their leader dismounts with a grace that feels practiced, almost cold. He has the look of a man who expected to be feared and is now impatient to collect his due. His eyes sweep the yard and land on the boy, and something like victory flickers across his face. He says the child is his by blood and by law. He says names that carry old pain. He speaks in the tone of a man who mistakes claim for love. The yard tightens around his words. A few flinch at the old crest on his ring, at the memory of burned fields and broken vows. Claire steps forward and the man's gaze lingers, curious, measuring. Jamie moves to stand between them. He is tall, still as an old tree, his voice calm but unyielding. He says the boy is under his roof and under his care. He says care is a kind of vow that cannot be broken by a name. The man laughs like a door slamming. He tells a story about the boy's mother, about debts and danger, about a promise given for gold when hunger chewed bone. He makes pity sound like guilt. He makes fate sound like a chain. The boy looks from one man to the other. He's not a prize, but right now the world treats him like one. He reaches for Claire's sleeve, a small tug, the kind a child makes when the dark seems bigger than the room. Claire does not pull away. She lowers her hand over his and holds tight. The man watches this and something cracks in his smile. He says love cannot wash blood away. He says the boy will never be safe with a family who invite old enemies into their hearth. He points at Jamie's name like it is a wound. He speaks of legacy as a weapon, of the past as a leash. The wind picks up and throws his words across the stones where they sound emptier, as if the land itself refuses to carry them. Jamie answers with few words, the kind that do not shine but do not bend. He says the boy will choose. Not today, perhaps, and not with fear pressing on his chest, but when he knows who he is. The man scoffs. He says children do not choose. He says men choose for them. The village has come to the gate now. Some nod toward the stranger, the old pull of rank and name still strong in their bones. Others glance at the boy and look away. as if ashamed of how heavy the world is for such small shoulders. Claire feels anger rise like fire, but she keeps her voice soft. She asks the man what he offers beyond a claim. Can he promise safety, kindness, a table with room for a child to speak? He answers with lands and titles, with walls and guards. He counts wealth like it is love. Claire does not argue. She only turns and looks at the boy, and in that look is everything: warm meals, mended shirts, laughter caught by accident, the soft weight of being wanted. Jamie sees that look and remembers the first time he called a place home, not because it was his, but because it held the people he could not live without. He steps forward, not to fight, but to stand in front of the boy in a way that is not a shield, but a promise. The man reaches out a hand and says the boy's given name. Not the name he has answered to these last weeks, the soft one that fits his quiet steps, but the old name, hard and bright, shaped for command. The child flinches. He knows that name. He knows it like a bruise. He takes a small step back and bumps into Jamie's coat. The house seems to hold its breath. A bird calls once from the eaves and then goes still. The man says he will return with papers and officers. He says he will pull the child from this house like a thorn from a wound. He says the law is on his side. Jamie says the boy is not a thorn. He says the boy is a heart. The man does not understand, or he pretends not to. He mounts, lifts his chin, and rides out with his men, but not before leaving his final knife of a promise: 3 days. Then he returns. When the dust settles, the yard exhales. People begin to move again, slower, gentler, as if the ground might break if they step too hard. Inside, the boy sits on the first stair and stares at his wooden horse. Claire kneels and tells him the truth in plain words. He is wanted by a man who believes blood is everything. He is wanted by a house that believes love is. He nods once, but his eyes are wet and brave and too old. Jamie crouches down beside him and says that choosing is not a race. He says the boy can take all the time the heart needs. He says a Fraser keeps the door open. He does not say forever, but the word hangs in the air like a light. The next 3 days are long and full. The house does not hide the boy away. It includes him. He helps in the fields, sits at the table, learns the names of herbs from Claire, the way to hold a carving knife from Jamie. No one tells him what to choose. They show him what it feels like to be chosen. At night, when fear climbs the stairs, Claire sits by his bed and tells simple stories, the kind that end with someone found. Jamie stands in the hall, listening, a shadow that means safety. Outside, the rain gives way to a shy blue, and for a few hours each day the sun finds the stones and gives them back their warmth. The boy begins to talk more. Not much, and never about the man with his eyes, but about small things: how the bread tastes when it is fresh, how the dog never barks at him, how the field smells after rain. These are not facts a law can hold. They are proofs a heart can. On the third morning, the riders return, and with them come papers and iron voices. The man dismounts before the gate and lifts the documents like a shield. He speaks the boy's name again, the old one, and says the time has come. The village watches from the road, wrapped in shawls and doubt. Jamie does not look at the papers. He looks at the child. He asks nothing out loud. He only waits. Claire stands to the side, hands folded, face calm, eyes bright with a hope she will not name. The boy steps forward. His hands shake, but his chin is set. He lifts the wooden horse and presses it to his chest once, like a promise to himself, then holds it out to the man and says, very softly, that it is not his anymore. The man frowns, not understanding. The boy says he is keeping the horse, but not the name that came with it. He says he will not be taken. He says he will be chosen. Silence falls heavy enough to bend the light. And then, in that deep quiet, Jamie speaks the boy's new name. He says it once, steady and warm, and it lands like home. The yard stirs. Someone sobs without sound. The man stares as if the air has turned. He lifts the papers again, but they look thin now, as if the ink could wash off in the next rain. He argues law. Jamie answers with guardianship and witness and the right of a house to protect a child under its care. Claire steps in with details and dates and the signatures of those who saw the boy's mother beg for safety, not status. The village, slow at first, comes forward. One by one, they speak. Not of politics, but of mornings and bread and lessons and a laugh that returned to the kitchens last week. The record grows in a language courts often miss, the language of a life. The man sees he is outnumbered by something he cannot buy. He steps back, a soldier without a field, a father by blood and not by duty. For a heartbeat, grief crosses his face, raw and human. He could say many things now, cruel things, or desperate ones, but he says nothing. He nods once to the boy, a gesture that is almost a blessing and almost a surrender, then turns his horse and rides away without looking back. The papers hang limp in the wind. The yard holds still until the last hoofbeat fades.